Today I got this Morrison 15-inch riser. I've been waiting for it for a while. And it's got a high grip, which I wanted. I kind of like in between a medium and high. I wanted to try the high grip. It's cut way past center. It's made in the United States. First impressions, it feels real good. It's got a little heft to it. Fits my hand nice. Okay, I'm going to get everything together and I'm going to show you how we set it up to shoot off the shelf. Okay, I've been waiting to get this Morris 15-inch riser for quite some time now. For some reason, I really like a 58-inch bow because I'm only 5'7", I have 27.5-inch draw, and it just fits me. I mean, I could shoot any kind of length bow, but for 3D, I really like this. A lot of guys like longer. I just love 15-inch risers. So in preparation for this to come today, I made a nice string for it. Yeah. X99 tapered twist string. And I put it on, it was like an inch short. And I says, that's odd. How come this is an inch short? And I tried to untwist it a little bit, but it was just too much. So what I did was, I says, let me take some measurements of the riser. And so my other Carbon Z riser, I measured from the end to the end, it's 15. Right, from the end to the end, and this one's 16. Okay, the other thing I measured on the Carbon Z was the distance between the two bolts was 10 inches, and this appears to be like 10 3/4 inches. Okay, so the riser is slightly longer than the other 15-inch riser. This is more, I would say, a 16-inch riser, and it has I had another string that I was able to twist, you know, perfect with the 55 inches. And these are with Yucca limbs. These are my 35-pound Yucca limbs that are 100% carbon. So these are my 3D limbs. Okay, so I set it up with an 8-inch brace height because the string on this string that I had found that I made was fairly new. And though the X99 don't stretch, it settles around the puffs. So it's 8 1/4. Sounds very quiet, okay? The other thing we're gonna do now is I checked the bolts. I checked the adjustment bolts, the limb pockets, made sure everything was snug. And now we're gonna just check the alignment to make sure that the limbs are aligned. And these beater blocks here, you put them on the string, okay? You need them for the top and the bottom. Okay. Okay, we'll put them on, and then I'll show you the best I can. Okay, make sure they're on even and equal. Okay, what you do is you look down the string, and the string should be aligned in between these two white lines. Here, 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 and here. So I'm going to do it now off camera here and look at them. Okay, and I have perfect alignment, okay? If they were off a little bit, what you would do is unstring it, loosen the main pocket nut, okay? And then adjust it over a little bit, tight, snug these adjustment screws up. Make sure the pocket's tight, restring it, and then see if it's aligned in between. In other words, you move it over so that the string is in line with all four of these white notches, okay? Let me see if you can see better. See the lines? Okay? So that's complete now. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set up a shelf. This is all set up that you could shoot a rest and a plunger. Okay, but what we're going to do on this one is I like shooting off the shelf. Get some things off. So, what I like to do is you can buy this industrial strength Velcro from any hardware store, Home Depot, Lowe's, okay? And I make a pad. Now, because these bows are cut so far off center, let me eyeball it here. Okay, they're so far off center, so you can put a rest, which is a good thing. It's a good thing to have it more off center, all right, past center. So this way you can build it up and adjust your hits left or right, however it needs to be. So let me see what we got in here. Just want to show you some of the things that we use. Once you tune your arrows, right? Well, you could set this up, but there's so many different things you could use here. If it isn't cut far past center, a bow that you're setting up, see what this is? This is a little coffee stirrer that you get. Okay, sometimes people put coffee stirrers. Sometimes people they want to move the impact to the left a little bit, you know, too. Besides a coffee stirrer, they could use a toothpick, all right? As you get to be a little more, you know, a little more cut past center, you want to build it up a little more, then this here is a paint stirrer that's a little thicker, that's cut. And then the other thing that you may have to resort to sometimes is just cut a little sliver of wood with a handsaw. Be careful, put it in, you know, cut it bigger so you don't get hurt, and then cross cut it so you have a nice little piece to put on there. So I don't know what we're going to wind up with, but I'm going to use the thicker piece of wood that I cut. All right, so here we go. I cut a piece of Velcro to fit over the shelf. The shelf has a nice little raised portion here for the arrow to ride over, okay? I'm going to show you what I do in a minute. I'm going to just take this pad. I'm going to put that piece under it. Okay, I'm just going to lay it like that. See, just laying it where it is. Then I'm going to take an arrow and just lay the arrow on top of that bump. And what I do is on all my setups is I take a little piece of Velcro. See, tiny little piece, 1/2 inch maybe or less, by 1/8 of an inch or less. And every time I have a camera and have to take this Velcro stuff off, it don't cooperate. So try and get it off. Okay, got it off. Now, this is something I do on all my bows. Okay, I take this little piece and I put it next to the arrow. Okay, I put the pad there. Okay, and I put this little piece next to the arrow. All right, let me show you what it looks like. Okay, see that little pad? And what that does is, when I put the pad on it, the pad will be angled down towards the riser because of that little lift. That tiny little piece of Velcro got helps it from falling off the rest, okay? When you're shooting off the shelf. Because these bows are cut center shot and like to shoot them upright. And that's just helps keep the arrow tracking better. Okay, once again, the Velcro. Always difficult during a video to get off. Okay, I got the backing off the Velcro. Okay, I put it against the front and against the back edge here. And I'm going to place it down. Okay. Okay, you see that nice bump there? And if you look where they have that bump, it's where you want it. You want it kind of over the pivot point where your grip goes, where the throat of the grip is, okay? So there's less movement. If it was back here, there would be a great deal of movement, but it's right underneath, okay? Right underneath the center. That's where you want it to be. Okay, now, before you go shooting this, you're going to want to set it up roughly between right to left. And you could line the string up in between the center of this and look down the arrow and give you an idea of how far out you have to move that rest for it to work. Okay, so looking at it now, I'm going to try a piece of paint stirrer. Here's a piece of paint stirrer. And we're going to put that paint stirrer right over that bump. And I'm going to peel off the back. Hey, it came off. Put the Velcro right over it. Okay. And then we're just going to take a quick look down the arrow. Okay. Oh, that looks just about perfect, okay? All right. So that's the idea. There's different things you can build this out to. Before you shoot, you want to kind of get it in line. So when you line up the string and you look down the arrow, if it's not really center shot, maybe a hair to the left. For the Archer's Paradox, it'll bend around, okay? All right, so for the next portion of the video, it's getting late, mosquitoes are coming out. I'm going to take a couple of shots to tune the arrows and see if right to left is on in the house, okay? So I'm going to shut this off and we'll do a little shooting. Okay, I set the knock height 7/16, and just so you know, I adjusted the tillers and rechecked them again, and the tillers are 6 7/8, top and bottom, 6 7/8, okay? So these limbs were previously on a carbon Z riser, and it wasn't 34 pounds, it was 33 and a little bit more than 33 pounds. So we'll see how these shoot. I have a 75 grain tip on here now. We're going to shoot a fletched and then a bare shaft and see what happens. Okay, I'll let you watch me shoot. Don't be shooting in your house unless you got plenty of paint and spackle, and make sure nobody's home. I don't miss though. Okay, try to be a shooting machine. I shoot static because I have a bad back. I keep my hand against my face. I try to keep my bow arm up and on target. Okay? And just so you know, when it's nice out tomorrow and I go to shoot, I'm definitely going to recheck this outside, you know, but just for tonight to make sure it's close, so when I go outside, I'll be able to double check it and start shooting. Okay. Changed the point weight. I took off a 5 grain washer. Let's see where the impact is and how it looks. Okay. Now I'll have to shoot this a couple of times, okay, but the bare shaft is slightly to the right, which means it might be a little weak. And like I said, that's 34 pounds where I was shooting like 33 and change. I may back off the limb a little bit, okay? And then I'll back off the limbs a little bit, and then we'll shoot again and see what happens. Okay, what I did was, since the arrow shafts showed a little weak, I backed this off about a turn. But when you back them off, you have to check the tiller and make sure that the tiller, when you back them off, is even like you had it. Because the bottom limb's a little longer, so it'll never be equal, one will be a little off. So I did that. Let's see what pounds this is again. $32.5 pounds instead of 34. Okay, so just so you know, some of these ILFs have a lock for the limb bolt, an Allen key, an Allen set key. Okay, so once you loosen them, you adjust them and then snug them back up. Yeah, let's see how this flies. Okay, try to be a shooting machine. Okay, let's check it out and see what it looks like. Once again, when you do this on your own, take a few shots. Don't just take one or two. You know, you might have the first one seems to be perfect, and then every other one is different. Okay, now, I don't know if you can see this or not. The bear shaft and the fletch shaft are just about touching. So dropping that pound made it a little weaker, and it's tuned perfect, okay? So tomorrow, we'll go outside and we'll do a little more shooting, and I'll add that on the video. But I'm happy with this setup so far. I'm not unhappy that the riser is a little longer. I'm just surprised at it, okay? It still fits good. I still like the size, got a little weight to it. And we'll see how it shoots, okay? I like the way the grip is. I like that it's cut way past center and you're able to adjust it to hit where you're looking. You guys that like a rest and a plunger, you know, what a rest and a plunger allows you to do is, like, you see how I bear shaft tuned this. You want to do that first. But you could fine tune the flight of the arrow with a little stiffer or weaker plunger, but you got to know what you're doing. You really don't want to just set it at medium and leave it. You don't want it super weak. You don't want it like there is no spring on the plunger. You know, it's kind of an art to do it. If you never did it before, go with an experienced archer, you know, a coach or somebody, a pro shop, so they can teach you, pay attention, so they can teach you how to set up a plunger and how it feels and what happens to the arrow when you shoot. But I like shooting off the shelf. It's a little more challenging, a little bit harder to tune, but I think it's worth it. I grab my bow, I don't have to worry about the plunger ever coming loose. I don't have to worry about a rest coming loose. I just knock the arrow and shoot. That's it, and I'm good. All right, so tomorrow's another day, and we'll go out with this setup and we'll do a little shooting. Okay, just to be clear, before I put this away for tomorrow, I said I made a little weaker. I made the bow poundage a little weaker, and in turn, that made the arrow a little stiffer. And was able to bring that weak arrow, make it a little stiffer because I have less poundage now, and move it over to get good flight, okay? Just wanted to clarify that because I want you to learn from these videos. And I don't want anything to be confused. All right, so good luck, keep shooting. Tomorrow we're gonna go outside and we'll add to this video. Okay, here we are out here. Super hot out today. I got that 15-inch Morrison Phoenix riser, and I like the way it feels. Feels good in your hand. It's got some weight. When you shoot it, it's dead in your hand. You don't get no hand shock because of the weight. And these are light Yucca limbs. These are great limbs. These are the York 100% carbon 35-pound limbs. I have them turned down a little bit. And what we're going to do today is just take a couple of shots, and I'll let you know how it is. Now, don't get me wrong, this is the first day shooting this, and I only took a few shots with it and then sanded it. I'm out here now to see how it hits. But let's see what we do, okay? More about the riser than my shooting today. I'm going to go down 1 inch with the Yucca, with the Yoast tab, put my nail there, and slide the tab down. I'm going to try and be a shooting machine. Okay, try to keep my hand against my face and the bow hand up. Now, that 20 yard, we're going to try 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch, that's the deal with the big bag target. Okay. And then that deer in the back on the right is 25 yards, and I really don't shoot much further than 25 yards. And we're going to try that, see how that works out. Okay, that went a little high. Okay, that went a little high, but for the video purposes, it's good enough. I like the feel of the bow. All I have to do is just figure out my yardages and marks and then practice them. And the best way to practice is walk back shooting. I go to the furthest target, just start walking, randomly stop, turn around, and shoot an arrow. Walk back, stop, turn around, and it helps you guess yardage and figure out where your string walking points are, especially with a brand new setup. All right, we set this up last night, and I took maybe a dozen shots before this video here, and I had to sand it in between and move it over. So I love it. So far, so good. I recommend it. If you want information on I want you to check out my other videos, By Joe. There's a lot of information for you, different rises, different limbs, some recipes, all kinds of things. Let's go check out the targets. Okay, that's the 15. Here's the 20. Okay, 20. And here's the 25. Just a little high. I have to figure that out for the gap a little bit better. But if you notice, the right to lefts are good. When I came out here before, the arrows were a little to the left. And since we tuned it in the house and I was happy with the tuning, I sanded that paint stirrer to move the impact over. And it worked out good. I don't know, maybe 40 strokes with 80 grit paper. Put it back. So get out and shoot. Every day you wake up is a great day. Check out my videos. I hope it helps you. Have a good day.